Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Evolve with E. I am your host, E. We're going to continue on with the mini series Life Lessons Climbing a Mountain. This story this week, it's not really a mountain. It's kind of a mountain. I actually don't know if it's a mountain or not. It's got a peak. It's tall. So we're going to count it. So, story time. Coming out of the Yosemite trip, I was like, wow, I really like hiking. I feel so in my body, I'm so out of my mind. Let me keep up with just this physical activity. And it was not too long after the Yosemite trip that I was fired. So I was like, let's keep in motion. It makes me think of that Parks and Rec quote: if I keep my body in constant motion, I will avoid falling into a bottomless pit of despair, or something like that. Chris Traeger. Woo, felt that one. So I was like, let me lean a little into that. Just keep my body moving. Especially because I'm not great with routine breaks. And that's a massive shift in routine. Like when you're used to having a job and then you don't anymore. So I was just like, let me find local trails. I have the All Trails app, so let me hop on there, filter epic views, let me pick, a nice long hike. I was in the rhythm of doing that for quite some time. Maybe just like a week or two, I was looking up a new hike every single day. Probably not the smartest idea given I was just recently unemployed and the gas prices in California. Oh my God. Anyways, I was doing what I had to do. There's this one place I keep coming back to because the trails are really cool. It's a pretty decent elevation gain. You get to break a sweat. It's in a part of town that I really like, so I would just make a whole day of it. Go sit at a coffee shop or just somewhere there, apply for jobs, tailor my resume, tailor the cover letters, and then after I'd exhausted myself with that, the sun's down a little bit. It's not the peak heat of the day. I just go to this. It's like actually a reservoir. They've got a lot of trails. I like going there. So I would make a new routine. Go to the coffee shops, do my day on my computer, and then make my way over to this reservoir for some physical activity. There's one of these peaks that I liked a lot. I stumbled across it kind of on accident. The All Trails, says it's in and out, 8 miles. I was like, I'm not gonna go the whole way. The first time I was there, I did. I went the whole way. It was a silly Elise thing. I don't know why. Whatever. That's not the point. The point is, the first time I set out to do this hike, I didn't intend to go the whole way to the end. And then I did. And I was actually pretty glad that I did. But there's at least 3 trails that lead to this peak. There's 3 different ways to get there. Minimum. And I was excited because I'm like, okay, cool. I have different ways of exploring to get to the same end goal. Like, that's a different lesson, but not the point. The views behind me were so insanely awesome. Just looking out over the reservoir, over the rolling hills, you look close enough and there's some houses peeking out, and it's just super quaint, super cute. I really enjoyed that hike that first time that I went up it. Going back to those areas, I thought to myself, let me explore the other ways to get to this peak. Let me explore the other trails. I did. They were equally as awesome to get up there. And the same thing about the views on the way up were absolutely amazing. But the views from the very, very top of the peak are kind of mid. You can't really see all that you could see on the way up. There's a lot of trees and vegetation that block your view of the paths up. I kept having those moments on the way up where I would turn around, stop, look out over the view, appreciate the view. And on my first way up, I got to the top and was like, well, I'm fucking glad I stopped and looked around on the way up because the view up here is kind of shit. Not that it's kind of shit, but it's just not, it wasn't it. The elevation gain, I said, is pretty decent. And I want to say like 85% of the elevation gain happens in the last mile. So you kind of have a steady incline the whole way up, and then you're going uphill in the sun. That's where I was finding myself stopping and getting to look around more. Well, I just lost my train of thought completely. We'll get it back. Call it in. Ah, yes. So, elevation gain, pretty intense right near the end, right? When you get to the top and the views are kind of mid, you turn around and you start coming back down the hill. One would think that since the views are so much better looking out over everything as you're coming down the hill. One would take their time and appreciate that, right? Right? Wrong. Not me. Fucking ran down the side of that mountain. Ran. Like, unnecessarily just running. And I found myself wanting to be back at my car. Wanting the hike to be over. I was hot. I was tired. That first trip, I had not mentally prepared to do the full 8 miles, so I was like, fuck, I'm done. Like, I just want to be back at the car. I'm done. I'm over this. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go home. So the first time I hiked that peak, ran down, didn't really appreciate the views on the way down, and didn't really appreciate the view from the top of the mountain. The second time that I went out and I went back and went to re-hike back up to that peak, but take a different path to get back up there, I did the same thing. I was a little more prepared this time. I knew I was going up to the peak. Brought more snacks. Brought some sunscreen, some like shade from the sun too. Brought enough water. Brought, there was no service on the way up to the top, so like, didn't really matter. But the first time my phone also died, so it was just like, I think my phone was dead. I wanted to just be out of there. But this time, my phone's fully charged. I'm a little bit more present. I took some pictures this time because I was able to stop on the way up and take pictures from when the view was actually pretty good. And still, I get to the top. I appreciate the view. I appreciate being at the peak again. It was hard, not really easier the second time, even though I knew it was coming. And again, when it comes time to start going down the mountain, I start running. And I'm just ready to be done. I'm ready to be back at the car. I'm ready. I'm like, I did it. I did the hike. I got up the side. Now I'm done. And I kind of like was making jokes to myself on the way down this time as I was running. This is me in life. Like, I'm just running down the hill. I work so hard to get to the peak, and then I just run down the hill. Don't really get to appreciate, the view on the way back down. And then the third time I went back, I had to park somewhere else because this trail entry was in a different spot. And so it was like a trail that came into the reservoir from a different park, then went up the peak, and then back down, and then out. So, longer day. I went in knowing it was going to be a longer day. This one, because it was so much longer, had a pretty steady elevation gain. Like, it definitely had its moments, but it wasn't quite as drastic as pretty relatively flat and then straight up. There were like moments of straight up, and then the rest was just, uphill. This time, just intentionally just sat at the top for a while, looking around, journaling, reading. I had like a backpack, so I came prepared because I knew this was going to be a longer day. I'm like, I'm going to stop, I'm going to take breaks, I might climb a tree, I might journal while I'm in the tree. I did, that was fun. I might take all day to be out here. I brought bug spray and snacks, all the fun things. Sat at the top. And this trail, because it came in from another park, had completely, totally different views than the other times that I had gone up this peak. And again, just proved the same thing. The views on the way up were so much better than the view from the actual top. And came back to that same place of, I'm glad I'm taking breaks on the way up. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Just enjoying the climb. And I get to the peak. Take my time. Enjoy it while I'm up there. And then I start the journey back down. And as I'm running back down, again, I don't know why, I have this thought, probably shouldn't be running down this hill. I've been lucky. It's slate, it's little rocks, it's eroded from like runoff, and it's not great, stable, steady terrain, especially to be running down. So that's part one of the thought that I have. And part two is this whole like visual I get for a second, where suddenly I see the process of climbing a mountain as a cycle, similar to the cycle of like learning a lesson in life. I saw it as just like this moving cycle, this moving circle, where when you're at the base of the mountain, you're at the beginning of the lesson. You are going into a new lesson, you haven't learned it yet, you haven't started climbing the mountain yet. On the way up, you're climbing, you're learning, you get to the peak, you've learned the lesson. That's halfway. That is halfway through the cycle. The peak is only halfway. The rest of the journey, the rest of the cycle is the way back down. And so then it was this moment of being at the peak is learning the lesson, and then coming back down off the mountain, the climb down, is the integration of the lesson back into your life. So that way, when this lesson comes back up, when like a situation comes back up, you either have learned, integrated into your life where you no longer have to go through that learning cycle, or you repeat it because you didn't learn it. You didn't take that time to integrate, so that cycle didn't complete, so you need to do it again. And that kind of goes into my whole like evolve or repeat thing. I see a lot of life in these cycles and this visual of like evolve or repeat. You get the lesson, you learn it, and you carry it forward so you don't have to keep learning it. Or you do exactly that and you don't integrate it, you don't learn it, and you have to keep going through the same situation in different flavors until you actually are able to pull like that's why that keeps happening from it. So I hit this, maybe I probably shouldn't be running down this mountain. It's not the, most stable. Oh shit, I do this in life. Like, I learn the lesson. I get so excited to learn the lesson. And then when I'm faced with the actual integration of that lesson back into my life, I'm like running through it. I'm rushing it. I expect it to be instant. I expect that learning the lesson is the journey. And that's literally only half of it. The missing part for me is the then integration of it back into my life. And so that like stopped me dead in my tracks as I'm running down the mountain. And I stop for a second and I'm like, holy shit, let me ponder that. And so I start walking slowly down the mountain. And I'm just thinking about all the different situations in my life where after I've learned the lesson, I don't take practical action to integrate it into my life. And that I just expect it to be learnt. I learned it. I should be practicing it, and I expect that integration of that knowledge to be instant. And I'm just amazed with myself in that moment where I'm like, that's such a thing I do. Whoa. As I'm in my head thinking about all the different things that I just rushed through, I find myself getting impatient and I want to be back at the car already. And I notice that slowly, without really thinking about it, I'm jogging again. And I think to myself again, walk. Don't run. And I slow down. I start walking again. This time I'm trying to intentionally just like look around me, look at the views, and be like, look at the view. Look at it. Be here now. Enjoy the present moment. What the fuck are you running back to? You have nowhere to be. You have literally nothing to do. You have nothing to do today. This was your goal today, was to come out here and get this physical movement in. I have no one to see. I have no plans. My dinner's already like made at home, so it's not like I have anything pressing to get to. It's just me wanting to run back and be at the car. To be done. To be over it. And I'm chastising myself, I'm like, be here now. Focus. Look around. Be present. Smell the eucalyptus trees. Smell the dirt. Just be here. And I'm doing this, and I successfully do it for about another 2 minutes. And then I start running again. I have the thought, you shouldn't be running. And then I step on a rock and roll the absolute fuck out of my ankle. Oh, I fucked up. I did not break stride. I just caught myself like on my other leg and somehow kept walking. Like going downhill, I got momentum. And I did not break stride. And after I got 1 or 2 steps in on that ankle, I'm like, this is bad. This is no bueno. And if I stop, I'm not going to keep going. Like, And that kind of ties back in what I was talking about last week about the whole, like, if I stop, I won't keep going. But this was one of those things where it's like, I'm in so much pain right now. If I give myself a break from this pain for even a second, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put pressure on this ankle. And I also know that, like, sometimes the best thing to do with rolled ankles, I learned this recently and I'm going to spout it like I'd be knowing this. Sometimes the best thing to do is to just keep moving on it, keep that blood moving, because if you stop and you give it that time to swell, it's gonna get just that much worse, that much faster. So I'm like, oh my God, just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. I'm 1.5 miles, 2 miles still from my car. I don't know if I heard a pop. The rock rolled really far, you know. I can put pressure on it. I don't think it's broken. So we're just gonna move real slow. We're just gonna keep walking. So that all happening in that, like, progression of, like, me telling myself, walk, don't rush through this, walk, don't rush through this, came back to me in that moment of, like, bitch, you had the opportunity to slow down. You didn't. And then external circumstances put you in your place. They made you slow down. I'm not running on that fucking ankle right now. Oh, hell no. This was like 3 weeks ago. I am still not running on this ankle. I am still bruised. I am still swollen. I am still in recovery of, like, this rolled ankle. The shit was green. Anyways, it was just, again, one of those, the universe will humble you. You will be given your cue. You will be given your sign. You will be given the instruction on what to do, and if you don't listen, you will be made to listen. This is all going through my head as I'm limping along on this trail. That was just such a clear thing that hit me in that moment was, don't rush the integration. Take your time with the integration. That is going to be the most important part. That is going to honestly be the part of the journey that requires the most of your attention, is the integration and your placement on this unsteady surface as you're making your way back down the mountain. And I felt so silly. My mama always told me, don't run downhill. Sort of also like, don't run with scissors in your hand. Like, we all know better, but, you know, you get caught up in things and you get so attached to, like, the end goal, and you get so just focused on the end goal that what you're doing in the moment sometimes feels worth it until it's not. But as I'm limping my way back to the car, and I realize I really don't have anything to rush for now. Now I gotta go home and nurse my ankle. By the time I get back to the car, I really couldn't move it much. Kind of locked up a little. I took my shoe and sock off, and it was already super duper swollen. By the time I got back here, it was already, here meaning my apartment, it was already bruised, and I was just like, yep, I done fucked myself up on that one. Even as I'm, you know, sitting here the night of, as I'm getting back to my car, I reach my car, I get there, I see the car, and I'm like, what the fuck was I rushing back here for? Like, what? What was it? What was I rushing for? Yeah, I'm here now, and because I rushed it, I hurt. The whole rolled ankle thing, like I said, I had been on such a kick of hiking and just, like, every day getting out and running, hiking, doing some type of physical activity. I had to stop. I was out completely off it for like a day. And then I was like, I gotta get back up. I gotta get moving. I gotta, like, get it healing, got it kicked back into healing gear. So I just started walking real slow on it, but trying to just get some distance in, get some range of motion back in it. And I did. You know, I was able to get on it like the second or third day. But I do have to say, sometimes the universe does know the best way to teach me things is to humble me, given that I've had plenty of time to contemplate the consequences of my actions. I think it's safe to say that this is one lesson that I've definitely learned. The integration is key, and that you can't rush it, and that it is just taking the time, even if it's uncomfortable. Because, like, to be honest, at least with the first 2 trails that I did, where it has that, like, super steep decline on the way down, it's uncomfortable to walk down that because of the unsteady surface. Like, it almost feels safer to run down where you're not putting prolonged pressure on any one given spot, when you're just like boop, 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 boop on things that appear stable. But again, walking through the discomfort, slowly moving through the parts that you feel like you should rush through, because you know that taking your time on the way down is important. And when you give yourself and your experiences that space to actually land and actually sink in, sometimes it's a little smoother than forcing it, rushing it, and having it hit the hard way. So, all in all, the lesson that I would have to say that I learned from that is the peak is only halfway. The way down is just as important. Translating to, learning the lesson is only half of it. And actually integrating that lesson is where the real magic happens. So you will not catch me running down any mountains anytime soon. Yeah, this one humbled me. This one humbled me for sure. So I lived, I learned. If anything like that's ever happened to you, it hits different. It really does hit different when it's something that just like forces you to actually sit with it and you can't run from it anymore. And honestly, for me, this came at a really good time because I was hiking and being so physically active to also put mental distance between the fact that I was fired. And being able to keep myself constantly in motion kept me from dwelling on that. And it allowed me to run from it, like physically run from it, which I do. I do that. We're working on it. And this is one of the things that made me actually work on it, where it humbled me, sat me, and kind of took away that outlet. And it was a good thing because what I felt like I was running from wasn't actually that scary. Being able to actually take the time, take the space to sit with what happened, how I actually feel about it, bitch, I'm still relieved. It makes me feel a little bit more, I don't want to say it's in control, but I'm not running from anything right now. I was from what felt like pain, shame of being fired, guilt of maybe I wasn't trying my hardest. And I sit with it. And I see that it's okay. Feelings are just feelings. I don't need to be scared of them. They can't hurt me. Giving them the space to actually land allows me to see how early on in the process I turned off parts of myself in order to be okay with doing what I was doing and with putting myself under the stress and pressure that I was putting myself under. And I see now how turning that off led me to the point where I had to be fired, where I got to be fired. So that was an important thing for me, to actually sit in the integration of that lesson, to know that I felt this way in the beginning, and I ignored it, and it led to here. I felt this way in the beginning, I ignored it, and I got to here. Now, this is me closing that cycle, where next time, when I find myself in a situation where I feel like that, I have a pretty good idea of how that ends if I ignore myself and go out away from what I know that I want. And so we're not going to do that again. Cheers to integrating. I did this kind of out of order because this is something that came up for me. I had planned to do another life lesson next, but we'll get to that next week. Thank you for coming back. This was Evolve with E. This was the second episode in the mini-series of life lessons from climbing a mountain. Thank you for joining. Like, subscribe, follow. DM me if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for things to talk about in the future after this mini-series. Right now, I have 6 lessons lined up. We've just gone through 2 of them, and I hope you have a day as beautiful as you are. It's been real. I'll catch you next week.